We realize that planting soybeans can be a little bit intimidating. There's a lot of folks that think it may not be possible for them. It really can be done by anybody.
I'm very fortunate that I have access to the Stealth Series drill, but at the same time, not everyone has access to that same equipment. So how do we relate this to a wider group of people?
Welcome back to Midwest Whitetail. On today's episode, we're going to be taking you guys through some of the main points around planting soybeans. As you saw at the beginning of the video, soybeans can have a huge impact on the entire deer season, from velvet scouting, hunting over it obviously, and then that winter survival, finding sheds, just year-round benefits to planting soybeans. We realize that planting soybeans can be a little bit intimidating. There's a lot of folks that think it may not be possible for them. And in today's video, we're going to show you guys that it really can be done by anybody. I'm going to go over planting with the Great Plains no-till drill, the Stealth Pro 10, and Zach Rasmussen is going to go over some methods for those of you who don't have equipment, ways to get access to drills, and also ways to plant soybeans without using heavy equipment. We just got done calibrating the drill, and we're going to put together a step-by-step process on how to calibrate that drill. I know that can be intimidating as well, so this video is going to make it nice and easy for you guys. We are going to get our How To Midwest Whitetail channel on YouTube up and running again. This will be one of the first videos we post there. This is going to be the first of many videos on that How To channel. The team and I are excited to get back to producing specific how-to videos surrounding land management and deer hunting. With that being said, we're going to get moved over to the first field. When we get there, I'm going to go over some of the reasons I plant the Monster Buck forage beans and how they've impacted my farms over the last few years. So I'm in my 8th year of ownership of the River Farm, which is pretty crazy to say. And it took multiple years before I really figured out what was going to work to have food here basically year round. We never had deer wintering here. We had very poor late season hunting, hardly any sheds found. I've tried corn, I've done sorghum, I've done regular agricultural beans, and eventually I've arrived at these forage soybeans that Monster Buck makes. One unique thing about their forage soybean is that they are Roundup, 2,4-D, and Liberty ready. You know, a lot of the forage beans out there are only Roundup ready, but these beans, you're able to apply all the different herbicides and get the most out of your food plots. So people often ask, what is the difference between a forage bean and the agricultural beans? So number one, it's a variety of different beans. So there's a multitude of different maturity dates. And so throughout the single field, you have all these different plants maturing at different times. And in general, it's a later maturing soybean. And so you get the green beans into the early part of the bow season. They're green in youth season. So that offers big advantages. The plant itself actually withstands browse pressure a lot better. It rebounds more quickly from the browse pressure, which is a huge deal down here on the River Bottom farm. It has bigger leaves, so there's just more tonnage of vegetation, all the while still putting on a really great amount of pods for that late season hunting and carrying us over into the shed season. It's by far my favorite thing to plant, really on all my farms and all my grain food plots. Nutritionally, it has a lot of advantages over corn. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that love planting corn. Corn has a lot of starch, carbohydrates for energy, but one of the big differences between corn and soybeans is the nutritional value. A lot of people like to plant corn for that attractiveness. I've had great luck, obviously, with the soybeans out here on the River Bottom farm, having 50 to 100 deer in a food plot any given night during the late season. But the nutritional value is really important. The Monster Buck Forage soybeans have great protein content, great fat content, and when we're looking at that recovery phase post-rut, surviving the winter and setting ourselves up the best we can for antler growth the next year, it's hard to beat the Monster Buck Forage soybeans. And for those of you that are interested in the more traditional agricultural beans, Monster Buck does offer a few varieties of those as well. Before I get started planting, we'll go over some of the how behind planting. First you got to pick where you're going to plant. If you're on a permission farm or a lease, you got to talk with your landowner and figure out what's going to work. I think we're always harping on it, but you really got to think about entry and exit. How are you going to hunt that repeatedly without blowing deer out of it? And then if you're establishing a new site, I use the Onyx app to track out the boundaries of the field so I can get accurate acreage, which translates into proper amounts of chemical for spraying and proper seed amounts for each food plot. I did a burn down on these fields. I do burn downs on them every year because there's such a rich weed bed. So 2 weeks ago, I came in here and sprayed Roundup with 2,4-D and Anthem Max on these fields to burn them down. It's always important to get a soil sample, know what you're dealing with, making sure your pH is correct and you've got the right nutrients in your soil. So I'm using the no-till drill, of course. So once I spray, I just come in and drill right into the ground. For those of you not using no-till methods, field preparation with whatever farm tillage you're using is the other consideration. So I'm going to jump in the case and get planting. We're going to throw it over to Zach Rosmus, and he's going to go over those solutions to obtaining grain food plots if you don't own a drill.
Well guys, welcome back. We're standing out here at the Goat Hills in the plot that I actually killed my buck Sneezy last year.
He looks pretty good right there.
We are just finishing up getting some Monster Buck Forage beans in the ground, and we wanted to talk through all the different options because I'm very fortunate that I have access to the Stealth Series drill, but at the same time, not everyone has access to that same equipment. So how do we relate this to a wider group of people? And first and foremost, I'm going to start with, locally. How does that relate to you? Go to your local FSA office, Farm Service Agency, NRCS office, see if they have a native grass drill that maybe you can plant those smaller seeds with as well. A lot of times if you buy the seed from them, they'll allow you access to that drill for minimal fee, or they'll just allow you access to it without a fee associated with it. And then there's also the Pheasants Forever, Whitetails Unlimited, lots of other groups there locally, conservation boards. I'm not saying that every single one of those agencies locally is going to have access to a drill, but make those connections, find out what it can be. But you know, if that's not an option, if you meet a lot of dead ends, another option would be just broadcasting the seed directly onto the ground. And what I mean by that is that we're gonna first do a burn down. So we're gonna try to rid all the thatch on the top, do a big kill off with glyphosate, 2,4-D, make sure that we kill the plot entirely, and then come through with a tiller, disc, really rough up that area, try to get that seed to soil contact, and then we're gonna broadcast those soybeans directly onto the ground, pack it down nicely. That's something that I've had success with in the past. You know, I didn't always have access to this equipment. We're gonna put that to the test this year. I've had good experience with it. We're gonna see if Rye can have good experience with it too. He has a permission piece that we're gonna try it out on a smaller scale to see how that goes this spring. And we'll see if we can get a few beans to come up out of the ground. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the very last option that I would reference is that go to your local farmers or tenants, you know, if you're a landowner, or maybe if you're just hunting on permission, and see if you can buy back some of that standing soybeans, whatever that crop is, corn, whatever it might be. But I would recommend understanding what the market is at that time. You don't want to go to those farmers and lowball them with an offer. You want to make sure you understand what the value is there, because you can ruin a relationship really quickly with those farmers if you go to them with a really low number on what that can look like. So lots of different options out there. Like I said, understand what it can look like locally, NRCS, FSA, conservation boards, all those different gamuts of entities that are out there that can have access to those drills, broadcast it directly on the ground. And then last, go to those farmers, be able to make those connections and see if they'll you know, leave an acre or two standing for you for a little nominal fee. And I really think that that can set you up to have some food during the fall. Well, I really hope you guys are able to take advantage of some of those local opportunities that are out there for you. And if you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to reach out to us in the comments. We'll do our best to get back to every single one of them. And hopefully we can spread some of that information, because as somebody that has a lot of experience in the native grasses, you know, Great Plains has led the way on that for a really long time. I've really enjoyed to continue to dip my toe in the water on the agricultural side of it, continue to learn more, expand those horizons. We really hope you guys enjoy this one.
That's great stuff from Zach on, you know, accessing heavy equipment if you don't own it, and also ways to get beans in the ground without heavy equipment. We are just wrapping up getting the forage beans in the ground here at the Merino plot. We've done the 2 northern bean plots on the north end of the farm, and I'm really looking forward to how this all turns out this year. You know, this plot is an 8-acre plot, and I originally put it here because of the location on the farm. I mean, it is central in the entire 560 acres of this property. And I wasn't really putting it here to try to bow hunt it. I mean, I was putting it here to hold deer throughout the year. There's a very high deer density here. It's hard to get food to grow, so a larger field was gonna give me more success with that. And over the years, it's really proven to be very useful. I mean, we hold deer all winter. We get lots of sheds, like I mentioned earlier. And it's also been a great spot for late muzzleloader hunting. We've just had so many great hunts. And now I've been focused on how to modify it to also make it huntable with a bow. Over the years, I've really hunted the timber kind of around it, just mainly the trails coming and going from the field. But with the redneck blind on the field edge, last year I put the overcast blend and some of the cereal rye just in front of the blind, like 40-yard circle around the blind. And that worked some. I didn't spend a lot of time hunting it because I didn't have a buck that I was after here. But this year I'm modifying my plan a little bit more. I'm gonna come back in and redesign that green plot structure to this field. So my plan is to actually till the beans under 40-yard square in front of the blind, and then do a few strips of turnips through the beans leading to that square. That's basically to create some edge inside the food plot. I think that's gonna be pretty interesting, filtering deer in front of the blind for a bow shot. In general, when I look at where I'm gonna select putting my bean plots on properties, I'm always thinking about access, of course. And then from a huntability standpoint, not just how do I get in and get out, but where are the deer bedding relative to that? Where can I cut them off and get them in bow range? And then how will it set up for late season hunting? You know, on the wetland, this is a wetland easement, and so I don't have a ton of freedom in where I select these plots. I mean, I had to get approval where I put them, and I couldn't just go put them wherever I wanted, and I'm limited to about 5% of the total wetland area. So you might have a little more freedom to design on your own property. You guys heard us talk about Montana when we found his sheds, and that's a buck that now we're starting to build some years of history with. He's gonna be a 5.5-year-old buck this year. This is where he really, hangs out during the late season. So we filmed him now 2 years in a row in January in this food plot. And last year we actually were hunting this plot after Tony, and I kept thinking we would see him, and I didn't actually get footage of him until after season closed. I came sit with the camera a few nights and was able to get some really great footage of that buck. And then he stayed on this plot all through January and February and shed just right off the backside of the plot in the timber. So when I'm setting up these areas, I'm thinking about that buck, and the other buck on this property I'm thinking about is Joey B, who's more on the north end. But even if they end up not being bucks that I target this year, I'm still on the fence on whether or not I want to try to target them at 5.5 or if I want to wait till they get 6.5. I mean, all of these plots are put in with the idea of herd health, keeping the deer around, trying to hold them here year round, finding their sheds, and giving them a head start with good nutrition for the following year. And who knows, we might end up targeting one of those bucks here after all. Right now, my brain is definitely focusing on Junior as a primary target this year. In the next month or so, I'm gonna be getting all the cuttybacks moved to their summer positions, and we've already got some good-looking bucks showing up on camera, which is exciting to see in the month of May. Well, hopefully some of these tactics today will help you guys get beans in the ground on the property where you hunt. And if you're looking for a seed, the Monster Buck Forage bean is going to be hard to beat. I mean, just the tonnage that it produces, the pods, it's got great holding power. Obviously, I've had a lot of success with it. I think you guys will too. If you guys have any questions at all, just drop us a comment. We'd be happy to answer them. We're about to hit the road to head to Wisconsin for a turkey hunt. We're got another hunt going with the UC hunting properties there, try to get a few more turkeys down before the end of the year. You guys can, of course, catch up with all of our turkey hunts on the Chasing Red playlist. Hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. We'll see you back next week.